Welcome to Between the Poles, the podcast where we dive deep into the heart of the pole community. I'm your host, Caroline. Here, it's not just about the tricks and the spins. It's about the stories, the people, and the connections that make this community so special. Every episode, we sit down with pole artists, studio owners, and inspiring voices to explore their journeys, challenges, and passions. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's get real. This is Between the Poles. If you enjoy this podcast episode, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and YouTube, where we share behind-the-scenes contents, bonus clips, and more from each episode. Hi, everybody. Welcome back on this episode of Between the Poles podcast. Today, we're sitting down with Gigi. Hi, Gigi. How are you?
Hi, great. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
You are so welcome, Gigi. You wear a lot of hats. You are a pole artist, an entrepreneur, an influencer, and a mom. It's a lot, right? When you say it like that, you're like, oh my God. And I kind of want to touch up a little bit on all of it today. I feel like a lot of my viewers, my listeners will know you from Instagram, and we'll get kind of in that in a little bit as well, because you do have quite a nice following on there. I like to start this podcast the same for everybody. Can you tell us a little bit? When did you start pole? How did you even realize that pole existed? And can you tell us a little bit about baby pole Gigi?
Oh my goodness, I've lived lifetimes. Well, to answer that, I generally have to go a little bit back further. Uh, Unfortunately, when I was a little bit younger, I experienced a bit of SA. And those that have been following my story, I recently posted something about that as well, so they'll understand. And that's truly now looking back, as a mom, as doing the work and all that kind of stuff, realized that was sort of the starting point and the reason why. Um, Anyways, because of that incident and incidences following that, I ended up spending a lot of my teen years doing drugs, alcohol, benders, parties, just everything that you can to try and escape, as one does. So really, really heavily into the party scene and just having a no respect for myself, really. But through that, I remember there was one night I was at a house party. It was at my house as well, and one of my friends back then said to me, we were both drunk and high, if I can say that. But he was like, this isn't for you. Like this, you're just doing this to try and escape. Like this isn't meant for you. And that's been what, 20 plus years now. And that's still stuck with me because I was doing the exact same things as everybody else around me. And I was looking around, but I felt I was more than that. I knew I was more than that. I was like, this isn't for me. And I was right. And I don't know, I was a little bit judgy, I guess, because I was doing the exact same things as everyone else, but I was like, no, I'm better than this. So that basically led me to go and hire my first PT. Mind you, I grew up the typical, atypical Asian child, very studious, no exercise, no out of school sports, no nothing to my name. It was just more study. So Kumon. I don't know if anyone knows about Kumon, but Kumon, and there was more different colleges that were outside of school. So no exercise background, very, very unfit, unhealthy, hired a PT, and I almost, the first session, I almost died, honestly. I think he had got me to run 100 meters, I think, on the treadmill. It wasn't even 100 meters, and I was gassed. I was wheezing, and I was asthmatic for a few years after that. And so that was my first taste of anything athletic or sporty, which I hated sports, didn't participate in PE at school, nothing like that. And then I wanted to dance, like I wanted to express myself, but at the time, dance studios, casual dance studios for adults, they mainly existed 45 an hour away from where I lived at the time, so mainly like towards the city. And let's be honest, like if it's anything longer than 20 minutes, you're not going to end up going, you're not going to stick to it. So I wanted to do something like that, but nothing was around. And then randomly found pole dancing. And that was 20 minutes from my house where I lived at the time. And I was like, whoa, there's this thing where you can like dance, but also get fit. Like, amazing. um, so that was my first taste of a small studio near my house. And back then, I know some studios are different now, but back then it was all terms and you do the strength portion and you do all the tricks and then you do a little routine at the end. And I absolutely hated the majority of the sessions because they were all strength based and I had absolutely zero strength. And so, to be honest, I think I made 3 out of the 8-week course classes, and that was it was a big ego hit because I loved the dancing part because when it came to the dancing I was so keen and I bought my little street heels from home and like I was like whipping my hair around and I love that, but the rest of the class I remember just struggling through it, holding back the tears, all
Then
of that.
why did you come back? If you did like 3 of the 8, how did you actually come back?
I didn't. So after that, and there was a mismatch between myself and I guess the vibe of the studio or the teacher. I just didn't like it, and so at the end, it wasn't worth it for me. And I was like, nope, pole dancing's not for me. That's not. I've tried it, not for me. And it wasn't until I think a year later another studio popped up near my house, and at the time a friend of mine asked if like I wanted to go and try it, and I was like, oh no, I've already done that, like I didn't like it. And it was obviously my ego talking because I was like, I'm not good at it, so like no, it's not for me. But she was like, I had a look at the timetable and there was actually, funnily enough, just dance classes. So just pole dancing classes and then just trick classes. So it offered me more of a range to do the thing that I actually wanted to do. And so I thought, oh, this studio sounds different. It's actually offering pole dance and it's like you get to just go and like dance for an hour. Amazing. So I did that and loved it, obviously. I loved the expression part of it, and I could dance and twirl around, and I was like, yes, this is me. And I was very, very reluctant to do any of the fitness classes because I was like, oh, no, that's not my forte. But yeah, I did it, and mind you, I was the snail of the class always. I remember just fighting back the tears constantly because I was the last one to climb, the last one to pull up, to sit, the last one to sit, the last one to Jamila, everything you name it. I just ended up having bruises up and down my legs, and anytime it just came to the trick sections, I was just yeah, not a fan. But
All
the
right,
dancing was enough for me to love it. So yeah,
questions. Because guests always tell us
yes,
their story, and I'm like, no, no, no. I I'm nosy. I have like 101 more like
of
little
course.
just questions. You said like
Yes.
at the complete beginning, you're like, oh yeah, and then the first poster you just kind of popped up. Did How did it just pop up? Because a lot of people just don't even know that pole exists. So is it like you
Oh,
just looked online like
yeah. I looked up
every
dancing for adults.
post oh
Dancing
dance
for
for adults
adults
and
near
then it
me.
kind of ranked?
Yes. So there was a few big dance classes because I was actually originally looking for at the time, obviously, like hip hop or jazz or like urban. And so I was looking for dance classes, but everything that kept popping up was for kids. You know how they have the little performance
Yeah.
academies and the little kids dance studios. And so then I started searching dance classes for adults. And then it came up with casual classes. But again, those studios were away in the city and towards like the outskirts of the city. And I was Bayside at the time. And then, yeah, when obviously dancing and plus adults pole dancing came up when that studio existed. And that was just, yeah, that was it. I was like, ooh, piqued my
Love.
interest.
And then can you take us a little bit? So you found the second studio, it kind of just matched your energy a little bit better. Then what? so you went from like, okay, I'm learning like pole sits, because I'm like, there's a lot of life that happened between you learning a pole sit and you at the level you're now. And can you just kind of a little bit, like I know you can't tell us your whole life all the time, but just a little bit how has that progressed for you?
Uh, so at that time, pole studios were far and few between, but there were some that has started to pop up. So I was doing pole dancing, but I was also doing PT, and I started doing different PT at a different place because I was like, I still want to get stronger, and I just wanted to be stronger. And I thought, let me, instead of doing more pole because I was getting so bruised and so just it just was hurting me, I was like, let me do a little bit of cross training. So I thought, let's hire a different PT that had opened up. And funnily enough, that PT that I was working with opened up a pole studio underneath its studio. So it had a little, what do you call it? A shoe shed. I'm not sure, like a little basement like area. It was small, very small. But they'd opened up a pole studio. So one of the pole instructors, so one of the PTs actually was a pole instructor. So there was another studio opening up, and I was like, "Ooh, this one seems different." And I fell in love with the instructors. Met some of my closest friends that became my first instructors and my friends. And so I kind of transitioned from that other studio that was fun and I was dancing to then this under the studio little shoebox of a pole studio, and I loved it. I was always there because I was doing PT there and I was dancing there, and I ended up becoming the admin for that studio. So I ended up just going there, and on all my spare time, I was freestyling and just not going up the pole, but just dancing around it and dancing in the studio constantly. And then that's how the owner actually asked me to become a baby pole teacher. And that was, I believe,
Say, I feel like you're going to kind of answer the question I was
yeah.
tend to ask people. And the question is what naturally came to you? But your story and how you're saying, I think the dance aspect of pole really kind of stuck with you, and that's what really interested you. And is that what you started teaching as well when you started teaching?
Yes, yes. So the instructor asked me to, the studio owner asked me to be a baby pole teacher. And at the time, I was just like, what do you mean? I was an intermediate student. I was still learning, but she loved what she saw in the dance side because she hadn't seen anything like that in the space. So at the time, all of our routines that we were learning, I'm not sure about you, but in Australia, all of the routines were very rock and roll based. So, the old school stripper style, strip AC/DC, all yeah, just the typical rocker style that you saw that was very, very common. And I was dancing to a lot of R&B and doing different moves and just doing different things that wasn't around in the pole space. So she quickly saw that and she was like, "Hey, I'd love you to teach some dance classes because I think it's a very different way of moving." So for me, I was like, "Oh my gosh, like amazing!" Like hella scared, but also like cool. And I was like, "Just don't put me into any like course like strength classes because I do not feel comfortable there." But yeah, dancing was the biggest thing because it was endorphins, but for me, the dancing was really an emotional release, as I talked about previously with all the trauma. So it was my way
Well,
of
you say, okay, I have multiple questions. I give what to people, I tell you. One, you say like, oh, back then. When was back then? Can you give us like how many years ago about?
So I started pole in 2014. So that's when sort of I say some pole studios were opening up, and it was becoming a little more like into the mainstream.
Yeah. And
Um,
I have another question too, because you said that in Australia it was more like rock, the dance style that was there.
yes, yeah.
Where how would you build your own like choreos? Because let's say you just went to the studio and you wanted to dance for yourself and you're dancing more to like R&B, like you said, and all that. How were you kind of teaching yourself different like moves, this different pattern ways, different sequence? Like, how were you going about that?
I think it was honestly a lot of trial and error. And like I said, it was the expression and emotional release for me. So I spent lots of time in the studio just doing all the admin, and in the spare time, I would just put on my favorite songs and just be moving. And there was moves I learned from doing the classes. And then it was just that taking it. And I mean, to be honest, it was just a lot of body rolls. It was just a lot of feeling myself and doing a lot of body rolls around the pole, and just doing little spins here and there. So when I say it was choreography, it wasn't anything like crazy, but it was just, yeah, just a lot of trial and error and me expressing myself, because that was my way of communicating, because I wasn't a very vocal person growing up, um, as well, and I like to hold on to a lot of things. So I know that my throat was always I always had a lump in my throat when something came about, and I couldn't talk, I couldn't speak, I would always freeze. So dancing was really just that first way that I could, oh, I don't have to talk. I can just move my emotions through my body. Oh my goodness. And, now looking back, that's exactly what I was doing. I was releasing some pent up trauma, some pent up emotions, and just expressing myself the best way I could through movement.
That's such a nice way of like explaining it. Can you tell us a little bit why like inverts or all of that never were like your biggest kind of goal? Because I feel so many viewers, listeners, baby polars, people that just get into the whole world dance fitness aspect of it. I feel like people think about inverts all the time. Why not you?
Well, I suppose this is a two-parter, because on one hand, it was probably my ego keeping me safe, being like, oh, that's not important to me, because I couldn't do it. I will say, the first few of my instructors, they didn't have the knowledge that people have now about the muscles, the functions, the right way to prep, all of that. Back then, it was just like, hey, just swing yourself up and get into it, and you'll hold up. And everybody else seemed to be doing it, but every time I tried, it wasn't like I would swing my legs up and then my arms would be out here, and I'm like, and I would just flop back down. And so there's a lot of facets to it, I suppose, because even in things like Jamila, I was quite hypermobile, but my instructor didn't have any idea or knowledge about those things, and was just like, one hand up and one hand down, and I ended up putting all of my body weight on that bottom arm, which caused injuries. So because of that, I think I shied away from it. I was like, I keep hurting myself, but I again didn't have the understanding why I keep getting injured and everyone else seems fine. And, everyone else had that sort of background, whether it's, they were training at the gym, or whether they had done little athletics or gymnastics as a kid. I feel like if you do have some sort of background, that you're not, I was completely idle as a child. I was completely studying, so no muscle tone, no what, no nothing. I think if I found it hard, as well as I kept injuring myself. So I was like, this, I didn't want to do something that kept injuring me. So I did shy away from that. I was like, well, that's not for me. And I just thought, okay, let me do things outside of pole. So that's when I started, to go into the gym a little bit more and trying to do all the lat pull downs and different things and try and get stronger that way. Um, so yeah, that wasn't the tricks part, never, I think because of that, wasn't the high up on my list. It wasn't like my driving reason to go to the studio. So yeah, twofold part on that one.
Which I'm like, it's great because honestly, I don't even know where you're at right now on like the trick side of pole. I follow you for like the authenticity of your page. and you slay when you dance, and I'm always so impressed with what you post. Can you tell us a little bit? Okay, so you started like teaching more kind of the pole dance aspect of it.
Mhm.
Can you keep on going? So what happens? Because like right now, like it blows my mind how you move and all that. So there's years of training, right? Like anything special worth mentioning? How did you start like training more for yourself? Were you able to take more classes with different people? How did like you tune in on your style?
So this is a good and bad thing, but unfortunately, I didn't have once I started teaching, I didn't have any time to do classes myself. So and now it's a different story now because I'm making sure I'm a student now. But I everything I learned, I was sort of having to do on my own, which was a bit of a shame because I was an intermediate student, and I think it was around 2015 and 16. I just started pole dancing more because I was teaching more, and I there was an expectation then of me to start teaching more and more strength classes, tricks classes, and my man, that was years of that was I was always my stomach was in knots because I knew it wasn't my forte, and I did teach a lot of beginner classes, and I love now looking back. Beginner teaching beginners is bloody hard, like because you're also having to deal with the different backgrounds and the psychology of so many different students and their starting points as well. So mind you, teaching beginners became a big forte of mine because I loved getting them and being their biggest cheerleader and getting them to like love the tricks part. And I could see it as well on a teacher's point of view, like, oh, that person's done something in the past. That person's, had a background of something because some students, I was always like, oh my goodness, this took me a year to do and you guys are doing it in 1 hour, you know? So there was that section. But in terms of my own learning, I it was really, really hard. I probably went to in a term one class for myself if I was lucky, like as a student, which is why now I'm a big proponent of teachers like taking terms off and doing classes and becoming a student because it's a mental thing as well because you get to a certain point and you're like, oh, all of my students are, progressing and I'm the same. And that was the same for me with in terms of tricks. Like I sort of felt like I had plateaued or stuck at a, intermediate pre-advanced level. And because I wasn't doing classes myself, I was just teaching beginner, intermediate, like tricks classes. I wasn't developing my own repertoire of tricks and getting stronger that way.
I
Uh,
feel that
yeah.
100%. I opened the studio like 2 years ago. Like the first year of the studio, like I taught so much that if I wasn't teaching, I just wanted the time off. Like my body just needed to like rest. But then it's also, yeah, exactly how you say, seeing all these students you're teaching, eh, they're just skyrocketing and they're like great. They pull for themselves like 8 times a month, 8 times, like wow, that's amazing. And then they cross train and all. I'm like, yeah, I'm tired. I'm like teaching so much.
I don't know how people and big being mothers as well. It's like there's the added layer. Now it's a different story as well. But back then, I'm like, like I should have spent a lot more time doing stuff for myself, but I was too tired from teaching.
And I was
Uh,
gonna say, well, if you open the door, might as well go to a bunch of questions I have for you. I know you're a mom. You've been pretty vocal on it, on your Instagram, and that's where I follow you. When in your pole journey did you become a mom? And I have like I want to spend a lot of time on this with you. I'm also a mom. Um, and I just don't feel like I see a lot of moms in the pole world. I think it's one of the I feel it's one of the times where I feel a little bit underrepresented. I just don't know why. And yeah, I love how authentic you are on your Instagram page about being a mom and the hardships and the highlights of it and like kind of both sides to every medal. Can you just tell us a little bit? Yeah, so where were you in your pole journey when you became a mom?
So I spent the majority of my 20s identifying as a pole dancer. That was who I am. That was who I was. And I became pregnant in my early 30s. So there was a big shift. We had COVID 2020. So that was probably the ending cycle of I would say, my pole dancer identity era. It's still part of who I am, but the majority of from, I guess, 2015, where I started becoming more and more confident in what I was doing in my style in 2016, to 2020. That was my biggest thing. My last competition that I did was in 2019. So everybody saw me. I was the pole. Bad gal Gigi was my former my former name. That was who I was, and I was a pole dancer. And I fell pregnant in my early 30s. I And things shifted. And I think that's why I think there's people in two different sort of camps, perhaps. I think there are mamas that pole dance and they try and, they get back to who they were before and they still maintain their two identities very well as mama and as a pole dancer, because I do know some very high level, amazing performers that are mums as well. And they're doing, I watch them and I'm like, how, like, how? Like, I don't know how you are doing this, but amazing, kudos to you. And then I believe there are maybe another camp of mamas that were pole dancing and then they had their babies and they have motherhood is hard. Like motherhood, props to mums. And I don't know about, I'm not speaking for everybody else, but I feel like I go back in between the two because after having my twins, like my whole life has changed. I'm gonna start singing "My Whole Life Has Changed." Honestly, like you view things differently, and you're tired as well. Postpartum era is hard on anyone, and it's not spoken about enough. And it's not just post 6 weeks of giving birth. It goes on for years. I'm still dealing with um like physical changes, not only that, mental changes and lack of sleep, and your priorities change. So I think there are a couple of different, camps, and everyone has, shifts in between the two. And I know I do definitely. I know sometimes I'm like, yes, Paul, I'm coming back and I'm doing my thing and I'm, being better than ever. And then other times I'm like, that's not important. Like my kids are important, spending time with them is important, and these formative years are so important. So I feel like there's a lot of shift that goes along with that.
You go about it because I would agree with that. I would agree with that mindset of there's a shift. And sometimes I'm in one side of the camp for a while, for a couple of weeks, couple of months, and then up suddenly I'm in the other. And there's other weeks where I'm like, one day I'm here, the other day I'm there, depending on how life is going and what's going on, right? And yeah, there's just, I feel for some reason, like not a lot of representation. I don't know why. And I feel like a lot of people that I know that do pole dance and have kids, maybe it's also like, because when they come to the studio, I know when I come to the studio, it's kind of some me
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. You just wanna, that's it.
Yeah. I want to laugh with other people, not about my kids, like about other things, and have those connections with other women, other people about just randomness that happens in the pole studio. And I know like how much pole means for my mental state.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think for maybe a lot of moms, I assume probably it means the same to them.
It's a
I know
huge
I have,
identity, yeah, because you're putting on different hats. And yeah, of course, pole for a lot of people is this is my time. This is I don't want to be a mum anymore. I'm here. I'm a pole. I'm pole dancing, and that's a lot of identity shifting and a lot of different things. And after you become a mum, there's so much to unpack. Like you're constantly unpacking who you are and like what version of you. And we're females, and as females, we are such cyclical creatures. Every month we go through such different with our hormones and everything as well. So it's like that, and being a mum and having all these different hats, and we're constantly finding our way as best as you can. And it's hard because yeah, it's not often that it's spoken about in pole. I do find sometimes I'm like, oh, you're a mum too. Like, oh my goodness. And like there needs to be more like, I don't know, a mum pole club or something.
Think so. And I think it's one of the reason I was so drawn to your Instagram. And then obviously I wanted you on the podcast as well. Just and it kind of will segment into something I want to touch up on with you as well is your social media. How did that start a little bit for you? And when did you realize, and maybe this is me interpreting this as somebody just who follows you. When did you decide to be so authentic and so kind of just like it feels so organic and it feels like you're there to just show all the aspects of it. And like I said, I love how open it feels like on your profile. I'm like, okay, I don't feel like you're on there just like trying to glamorize everything. I think you do a really good balance of like there's really
Thank
like highlights
you.
and there's periods where it's harder. Like,
Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Wow. My poor algorithm. It's honestly, it's been confused for years. Like let me start back. I started as the wild. I had colorful hair. I had rainbow purple, turquoise mermaid hair, and I was the single girl pole dancing, and that was me. And then came love, and then a heartbreak. And so, I took everyone on this journey, and I've always tried to stay authentically me as much as possible. You go through moments where you're just through absolute heartbreak and different things of your life. So yeah, you go back and forth. But I've tried to always keep my social media an extension of me where I can, and raw and unfiltered where I can as well. But yeah, my following, my followers have seen me go through it, been through the roller coaster, and then saw me find love again, and then pregnancy, and then obviously twins and motherhood. And so my poor algorithm, it's been through a lot because the shift has been wild, I'm sure, and it's it's been very, very interesting trying to shift people as well. Obviously, the core community that have been with me from the beginning have stayed, and I love them for that. But I also do understand, looking from an outside in perspective, like, what is this? What's going on with this person and this person's account? It's like, she's first off this like sassy bad gal, like pole dancer girl, and now she's like a twin mum posting about, motherhood. It's very like contrasting. And so there's such variety, and it's just been interesting trying to kind of, I guess, shepherd people and then show them this is all of me. There it's all the aspects of me, and it's hard sometimes too because I know, you know, in terms of the algorithm, if you want to talk like hard and fast, it likes it likes to know what it likes to know. So if you're a pole dancer, just be a pole dancer. If you're this, just be this. If you're just doing motherhood content, just do, and it is, I understand it is quite confusing because I'm like, no, I don't fit into a box. So I want to do all of it and I want to show all of it. And I am at a crossroads at the moment. I'm sort of relearning to post what makes me feel alive again. And I feel like I kind of, over the last maybe past year or two, kind of lost that. Obviously, and with things going on in your personal life and your kids and different things like that, you just kind of start to rethink things. But yeah, I'm relearning to sort of put things out there without the pressure to perform, I suppose. And I think that's been a big journey for me currently.
it brings me a question for you. Because a lot of your core base followed you way back then when you like posted probably almost exclusively about pole. Do you feel that there is a
Yeah.
little bit of a pushback sometimes, maybe in the comment section when you post things that aren't pole dance? I feel sometimes for some reason when we follow people on the internets, we
Mm.
forget that people are multifaceted, multi-as like, right? You're not just one thing. And you said like, I don't want to be in a box. I want to. Do you feel like if somebody kind of followed you for like all those pole dance videos you posted back, they're like, why are you on my feed? Like, why are you posting this? Do you ever have like a bit of a pushback?
Not so much in an outright pushback kind of way. I know that a lot of people like I lost a lot of followers, which I don't have any bad blood because it's like if it's not something that you want to see, it's not something that you want to see. But it's it's understandable, like because we are as simple creatures, like as humans, we like to know, our brains like to know the familiar. It always pulls out, oh yeah, red means stop, green means go, you know what I mean? So it's very, we like to point out things, and our brains like to be lazy. So I understand that we like to know what we like, and we like to keep things the same. And when something shifts out of that, it signals to us. It's like almost like danger. Like when obviously in the 21st, like we know now that it's not, but our bodies like to keep things how they know it. Like, it's how our brains are wired. And I understand that all of a sudden, if somebody's posting pole, and, being sexy and doing things. I know with a lot of male followers, I lost a lot of male followers because and from the start I was like, I'm here for the female gaze. I'm doing this for me. But I know I had a lot of male followers that were in it for the thirsties and all of that. And I know a lot of them dropped once I started posting my partner and my babies, and obviously, and like, hey, that's fine, but that's sort of what I've accepted it to be. And yeah, it's just people like to know what they know, you know?
And it kind of does bring me to the next kind of a couple of questions that I had for you. So we we talked a little bit about you changing your brand, or not really even changing, you just evolving and keep on growing as a human, right? When you did start losing some followers, did you get a little bit nervous at some point? Because I know for a lot of people in the pole dance community, a big following means more options when it comes to maybe wanting to branch out in business ventures or anything like that. When you did start losing a bit of followers, were you thinking of maybe using that platform as a stepping stone for something, as a revenue generating? Because you are an entrepreneur, and we are going to touch up on that. But yeah, like at that exact moment in time, how was that for you?
I mean, it was and it still is. It's a constant, you're going through your options, and it's like, I know that if I had stuck to purely pole dancing content, in terms of followers, I know it would have been much higher because there wasn't so many shifts and turns and different switches and what was going on, in terms of visibility, at least. I understand that. It yeah, I guess it's a bit of an act of defiance because I'm like, no, like this is me, and like I'm not gonna hide this. And I could have easily hidden my kids, and it's something that I've along the way had to adjust and readjust because I had my kids and I was posting, but then I was like, ooh, it's becoming too family oriented for me, and I also wanted to keep that separate because it's like I found it hard to compartmentalize as well. I'm like, am I the pole dancer? Am I the, mama? Am I this? And if I'm being honest, frankly, I'm still going through that. I'm like, okay, like we'll talk about what I've got my ventures going on at the moment later, but even with that, it's like, okay, how much of me goes here, and then how much of that identity goes over here? And I think it's a constant evolving that you have to just accept, and everyone goes through it. And it's like, at the end of the day, what's going to fall, however the chips are going to fall, is going to fall. I just want to be as honest and authentic to me at the end of the day. And if I was just posting pole content or having to feel pressured to, you know, just perform and like only do pole stuff, then that wouldn't make me happy. And it's like, okay, so then what does? let's go back. What does make me happy? Like, let's try and do this. And sort of understanding that maybe the numbers aren't going to show, maybe, it's not going to blow off, it's not going to do well, it's not going to be received well. And it's like, well, what are you going to think of yourself, if that's the case? It's like, I just have to kind of accept, like, it's not the be all and end all, I can't just, this is what I wanted to post, or this is what I did. And it's, yeah, just a constant rejigging of myself.
Yeah, and I kind of do want to now kind of step into a little bit of you as an entrepreneur. Can you tell us a little bit what you're into right now as a business venture? The viewers, the listeners know that this is a pre-recorded podcast, so even if it's not out yet or whatever like that, by the time this episode is out, people go follow, go have a look. But can you tell us a little bit, Gigi, what you're working on right now?
So for years and years and through 2020, the saga of us staying home, students of mine and from everywhere have always been asking me to put up some pole dancing lessons online. And I don't know what it was, but at the time, like I there was a lot of pushback from myself internally, because I would do it and then I would maybe do like one choreo and then it would just stop, and something didn't quite feel right, or like it was the right time, or it just didn't feel like, I just didn't want to put out more lessons online. I wanted there to be something more. And so that was always in the back of my mind, of having more of an online platform and presence for everyone. Um, but then obviously life got in the way and had the babies and had all this and that. But funnily enough, through that, I realized what was missing again, and that was something that incorporated all these different aspects. It's like, I love pole for what it is, but also I've noticed, many women over the years, they would come to me about their problems and they would have these issues and they would try and pull them away, which is what I did. Like, I would dance my troubles away, but and it did help to a certain degree. Yes, I would dance and I would be sexy and I would roll my hips, and like, yes, that was a great way of moving emotions, but I wasn't actually dealing with it. I wasn't actually somatically releasing it properly. And it kind of end up back, because I would see students get stronger and they'd come and they'd do the things, but they were still feeling like something was missing, I suppose, in a way. And even physicality, I would notice, some students would be still stuck and hunched up and they weren't releasing. And that's something that's deeper within them. And just from my experience and noticing those around me over the years, I was like, wow, pole is such an amazing avenue, and sensual dancing is such an amazing avenue for women to start expressing themselves and start, flowing and getting things out. But there needs to be something else. There needs to be that embodiment extra part. And a pole dance class or a floor work class is that on its own. You can't, you're not their therapist. You're not there to unpack everybody's problems, and it's not the time and place. And some people just want to come to escape, which is absolutely fine. But I thought, why not create an online platform somewhere where women can really come back and we blend the movement and the being sexy and sensual part, but we also blend that with, mindfulness and female embodiment and what it really means to be woman, And that's something that I'm working on at the moment. I am in a bit of a creative cocoon, trying to birth this new platform. It's called OMJI, OMJI. You can definitely find. We've just started our little social media and the website, but yeah, I'm letting it bloom. I'm sort of in that little cocoon phase, trying to grab some ideas and try and see how best we can offer what we're going to offer to women. So hopefully, in real life as well as online sensuality sort of sessions and things like that. Yeah.
I love that. And I love how you're trying to like really reach different aspects of it and not just like, oh, you're signing up just to feel sexy. You're like, no, we're going to work on variations of multiple aspects. Because I feel like if something I'm taking out of this podcast, really, it's a reminder that we're not just one thing, right? We are multiple things at once, and that's all right as well. And we just have to be in all of those at different times in our life, and that's all right. And can you tell us a little bit, just a little bit more about your business venture, either things you're really enjoying or challenges you're facing on it? Why did you even want to start a business?
Think in terms of starting an online business, the answer for me is so easy. It's I wanted to spend more time with my kids. So if I am having to physically be somewhere doing sessions with people, which I love, and that's sort of the issue I have at the moment because I love being face to face with people and energy, and I love sharing that energy and at the end of classes, and that's really where I believe, community is formed, and I've done that all throughout the past decade. I've been teaching in real life and with people, and I love that. But at the same time, I'm a mum now, and I'm looking after them full time, so I don't have childcare or anything options at the moment. I would like to keep them with me. So if I want to do that, and if I want to create some more time that I can spend with my family, then it needs to be online, an online offering. And so I think that's one of the things I have been battling with because I'm like, I love this real life, face to face energy of being with beautiful women and surrounding myself with women and, talking about all the things that we love and all the things and moving together. And just wondering whether I can translate that presence on an online platform. So, and I don't want to, put out something that I don't truly believe in. So I think that's another one of my little, not setbacks, but little things that I've been ruminating on. How can I offer this to women? That's going to really help them in a big way because I know the power of sensual movement. I know the power of women, full stop. And when women are embodied within their bodies and in themselves, like men, like the world is our oyster. And I want more women to know that. And like, I hope I can translate this to an offering online for them to really understand the power that's within them. Like, I feel like I'm at that phase. I'm like, I'm want to be their biggest cheerleader. And yeah, just thinking of different options because I have currently a 4-week container that I'm building at the moment, and then along with that, obviously some more 1 hour, smaller, bite-sized offerings too. So just kind of seeing what works. A lot of trial and error at the moment, and then balancing that with all the other hats.
I love that. It really resonates for me, and I hope it resonates for other moms
Yeah.
out there. Even just, you don't need to be a mom, but I just so feel that because it's kind of the same thinking I have behind the podcast, right? I do own a pole studio and I teach a lot and all that, but I also don't send my kiddos to nurseries or daycare, however you call it, in whatever country you're listening to this podcast. And I like the podcast because I get to feel those connections with people and I get to learn more about other people, but I can do it from my house and I can do it
Mhm.
when it's nap time and when it's bedtime and when like when my hubby has the kids and they're out the house and so I get it. And I do feel like the pole community is very supportive of that, or at least that's how I've been feeling. Even with students in the studio that have their own business, that are trying their own ventures, I feel the pole community is really cheering people on to grow in what they want and what represents their lifestyle and all of that. So I hope for our viewers and our listeners, you do give Gigi a follow and you do give, how did you pronounce it? Omji?
Gee, yes.
A
So
follow. I will put it in the caption as well to make it super convenient for you guys to have a look at it. And then Gigi, I want to move us because you are being very generous with your time, but I'm going to move us to the last part of this podcast, which we call the last grip. These are easier, lighthearted questions. You should have no issues answering any of these. Are you ready, Gigi, for the last correct? All right. I
Hit me.
always keep my phone, so I have them on here, but at this point, I'm starting to know them by heart.
I love that.
All right, Gigi, coffee or tea?
Ooh, matcha latte. Matcha.
I
Sorry,
love it
matcha.
much. Do you have a favorite song to dance right now, too?
Ooh, I have to shout out to my man's Donnell Lewis. His new single "Goodbye My Love." It's yeah, it's a beautiful one to dance to.
Can you tell us your most loved pull outfit or pull accessory?
Gosh, so I don't think this company exists anymore, but it's a pair of cobalt royal blue thigh high like pleasers, but not that brand that I have. Every time I put it on, I just feel amazing. So yeah, these like bright blue thigh highs.
I love that. Heels or barefoot?
Okay, well, after that question, mm, I love socks. I love socks too. I love a good sock dance, and I feel like I can really whiz around and express myself so much more in socks. So I'm gonna like, funnily enough, I love the power of heels and how it makes me feel, but I'm gonna choose socks.
It's all right. It's not like the option you take, you can never do the other one. I
Forever. No, it is.
And maybe if I asked you on a different day, on a different mood, you would answer different things, right? These are
Right,
just like fun
right.
questions. Um, do you have one word to describe your relationship with Pole?
Home. Like no matter how much time I spend away, like I can always come back and it's like, oh, you're home again. Like, yeah, yeah, home.
I think that's one of my favorite answers yet to this question.
Oh.
Spin or static?
Well, I am a spin girly through and through. I always learnt off spin. However, postpartum vertigo, that humbled me, and I'm almost 3 years postpartum now, and I'm only just getting back to spin being my friend again. It was hard. It was so hard for me. I could not spin after giving birth.
Feel like we all know the answer to this one. Choreo or tricks?
Oh, trick no. Choreo all the way.
Morning practice or evening practice?
Or whenever I can fit it in now, that's my answer. Whenever I can.
Can you tell us two or three people that you like following that we should be made aware of, that we should follow?
Oh, so there are these two girls from Sydney, two Asian girlies. Yay, go the Asian girlies. Um, Dorothy and oh gosh, I'm having a blank on her. She's a current Miss Pole Dance. Her name's Yenna. I've just had a complete mind blank on her name, but they both amazing styles, different to mine, but like just the musicality is just beautiful, beautiful. Yeah.
Love or hate of conditioning?
Hate the during, love it after. Love for it after.
I feel this is what I'm getting from everybody on here. Some guests we've had, they're like, I love it. They live for it. They teach it. A lot of people are like, I hate it, but I need it. And I think that's why I'm
Never.
at. Yeah. Yeah.
I could never.
Can you tell us a move or family of move that you just do not love?
Oh, you know what? Especially after giving birth, anything backbendy, my back is not the same. Like I've dealing with structural issues and rib flare and different things like that, and having all the weight forward. Backbendy is my nemesis now. Like even getting into a backbend is very difficult. Even getting into a Superman was very, very interesting the first time I did it because I was like, my brain knows how to do it, but my body just didn't want to go that way. So yeah, it's real.
My last question is always my favorite. And to finish on a positive note, can you tell us your favorite move or your favorite family of move?
Ooh. In terms of dancing, I love my spirals and anything that makes me feel sexy and like lots of like hip releasing stuff. In terms of up the pole, nothing, no, just probably anything compression-y. Like my compression, great.
Shit.
Compression. Anything like where I'm like here, like pancakey or compression-y, amazing. But backbendy, no, no, yes.
And for listeners and viewers, this is how like weird pregnancy is and like all that. Your body is gonna. I prefer doing a Janero any day than compression stuff. But I didn't. I don't have any. Yeah, I don't have any problem with my spine or anything. But I have like a hernia, so like anything that I have to fold in half feels terrible. But I will
See how
do like. Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody's different. Like how we're built, how your body reacts to everything and nothing, how naturally you're gonna do great at one thing and not at the other. And that's a big thing of why I like pole. But even just you and I today, like talking about like pregnancy and being moms and all that, I'm like, yeah, you're like, I don't want to backbend. I'm like, I will backbend any day before I like fold in half. And I love that for us.
I love that. Just it just shows that like literally that there is so many different avenues to pole as well, and I think that's why I love it so much because there are the fitness gurus and there are just the straight sexy dancers, and then there's the really bendy people, and then there's like the strength. It's just like there's so many different. There's something for everybody with pole, and I think that's the best.
Absolutely. All right. That is it for us today. Thank you so much, Gigi, for being on. This was a pleasure. And I hope everybody gives you a follow. And I will also say this to our viewers and our listeners. Give us also a follow on YouTube, Spotify, and anywhere where you can listen to our podcast. Thank you so much, Gigi.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us on Between the Poles. If you love this episode, be sure to hit follow and leave us a review. It helps more pole lovers find the show. And for exclusive bonus content, behind the scene footage, and extra pole goodness, follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, stay strong, stay connected, and keep spinning your story. This was Between the Poles.